Hey, what is going on, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of All Things Sudoku. Since this is the first episode, allow me to introduce myself. My name is Trevor, and I've been a Sudoku player for a few years now. So how these videos are going to work is I'm going to be providing commentary for the subject of the video, while you guys will get to see some of my Sudoku footage in the background as I'm talking about the subject of the video. Every now and then, the gameplay will be interrupted by images that I wanted to show on screen that have to do with the subject that I'm talking about. After the image is shown for a brief moment, the gameplay will resume. The Sudoku gameplay will vary because I do enjoy playing all kinds of different types of Sudoku, but yeah, it's pretty much just going to always be Sudoku you will see in the background. Each of these videos are going to be done by me and only me because I don't have an editor, graphic designer, nothing like that, so it's just always going to be me, myself, and I, and you the viewer. Since I don't have a research team behind me, a lot of the research I'm going to be doing is just obviously my own, so some of the things I talk about in the videos might not be 100% accurate, but again, that's because I don't have anybody to thoroughly check the research I'm doing, so that's not to say that I'm not trying to be accurate with the things that I talk about in the videos, but since I am only one person doing my own research, I'm not always going to be 100% correct. So again, just don't expect everything I say in the video to be 100% fact. It's just something I found interesting or whatever it may be, and yeah, I just figured that I found the information, I took a lot of it at face value, and if it's wrong, you can feel free to correct me in the comments. So with all that said, let's go ahead and get into today's video. So since this is the first video on this channel, I figured I'd go ahead and take the time today to just kind of look into the history of Sudoku, like where it started, how it got so big, etc. So some of the first number puzzles to appear in newspapers were published in France in the late 19th century in a French newspaper called Le Siècle, which in English translates to the century. French puzzle setters began experimenting with removing numbers from magic squares. Magic square puzzles are one of the simplest forms of logic puzzles. Each square is divided into cells, and the rules require the sum of each row, column, or diagonal in the square to be the same. When it comes to these puzzles, the player's job is to supply the missing numbers to the empty spots on the grid. Most magic square puzzles are a 3x3, 4x4, or 5x5 grid. Some of the 3x3 grids would contain numbers 1 through 9, and each row and column would add up to equal 15. Just like Sudoku puzzles, you can't have any repeated numbers in any row or column. Sudoku is very similar to the 3x3 grid that would use the numbers 1 through 9, but obviously it's on a much larger scale. Sudoku uses the same rules as Magic Square, but the sum of each row and column for classic Sudoku will always equal 45. This is a great way for those who solve Sudoku puzzles to double check and make sure they're right. Apart from all numbers being different, adding up to 45 can help with thoroughly checking if the puzzle is actually solved. On November 19, 1892, the newspaper published a partially completed 9x9 magic square with 3x3 subsquares. This wasn't a Sudoku puzzle, however, because the puzzle contained double-digit numbers and required arithmetic rather than logic to solve. This 9x9 puzzle did share key characteristics of Sudoku where each row, column, and subsquare added up to the same number. On July 6, 1895, Le Siècle's rival, La France, refined the puzzle so that it was almost a modern Sudoku puzzle. The image on screen shows the former headquarters of La France. The paper named the puzzle Guerre Magique Diabolique, which in English means Diabolical Magic Square. This simplified the 9x9 magic squares so that each row, column, and broken diagonals contained the numbers 1 through 9. The puzzle didn't include the subsquares. Although they were unmarked, each 3x3 comprised of the numbers 1 through 9. The broken diagonals led to only one solution. These 9x9 puzzles were featured weekly in French newspapers until World War I. The modern version of Sudoku we recognize today was invented by Howard Garnes. Howard was a freelance puzzle inventor from Connersville, Indiana in the United States. In 1979, the puzzle game was published in Dell Pencil Puzzles and Word Games magazine. At this point in time, the game was known as Number Place since it involved placing individual numbers into empty spots on a 9x9 grid. Sadly, Howard Garnes died in 1989 before getting to see his creation become a worldwide phenomenon. The Number Place puzzle was introduced in Japan by Maki Kaji, I hope I'm saying that right, president of the Nicoli Puzzle Company, in the monthly Nicolist in April 1984. It was at this point in time where the game was finally given the name Sudoku, which is short for a longer expression in Japanese, Suji wa Dokushin ni kakeru, which means the digits are limited to one occurrence. I probably botched the pronunciation on that, but I don't really care. To this day, Sudoku continues to be highly popular in Japan, where people buy over 600,000 Sudoku magazines per month. One reason Sudoku puzzles are so beloved in Japan is because the Japanese language does not work very well for crossword puzzles, so number puzzles were much more successful in Japanese culture. The man who would reintroduce Sudoku back to the Western world was a New Zealand judge named Wayne Gold, who was on vacation in Tokyo in March of 1997. Wayne Gold saw a partially completed Sudoku puzzle in a Japanese bookstore. Over a 6-year span, he developed a computer program that produced unique puzzles rapidly. The first newspaper outside of Japan to publish a Sudoku puzzle, the Conway Daily Sun in New Hampshire, which published a puzzle by Gold in September 2004. Gold knew that British newspapers have a long history of publishing crossword puzzles. He promoted Sudoku to the Times in Britain, which launched November 12, 2004. The first letter to the Times regarding Sudoku was published the following day on November 13th from Ian Payne of Brentford, complaining that the puzzle had caused him to miss his stop on the tube. From this moment on, Sudoku puzzles rapidly spread to other newspapers as a regular feature, and Sudoku itself became a worldwide phenomenon. So that's basically the short, brief history of Sudoku. I know there's probably a lot more in-depth stuff about Sudoku, but that's pretty much all the stuff that I gathered, all the stuff that I saw online, all the stuff I wanted to talk about. So the thing that I have to ask myself is, if Magic Square was popular in the 19th century and Sudoku gained popularity during the 20th century, why is it that we're almost a quarter of the way through the 21st century and Sudoku is still relevant? Well, first of all, Sudoku has a lot of room for innovation. There are so many different Sudoku variants, video games, apps, and even YouTube channels like this one out there where there's just so much involving Sudoku that the game pretty much will never die, because it's almost how people talk about other games like Minecraft, where the game just won't die because the community around it is like so much about like modding and creativity and trying new things. That's pretty much what I feel about Sudoku. Is it's just all about trying new stuff, seeing what new puzzle can come out, seeing how you can shake up the puzzle, like just what new thing can Sudoku introduce to the people. Another reason I feel that Sudoku is still relevant to this day is because it's just a great mind game. So just with how much Sudoku requires the player to focus, players can easily escape the chaos of life, especially if they have a lot on their mind. And it's just, in a way, it could be a great way to reduce stress, because if you're taking your mind off of all the stuff that you're dealing with right now to just put that 100% focus into a Sudoku puzzle, that could honestly reduce stress and just make you kind of like, in a way, I guess, while you're solving the puzzle, kind of ease up a bit and find out like how you want to approach those things that are stressing you out, you know? So even if you're not giving it your 100% focus, that little bit of focus that isn't in the puzzle could be used to figure out a solution for what's going on currently in your life while you're figuring out how to solve the puzzle itself. Another thing that has kept Sudoku relevant all these years is pretty much the competition around Sudoku. Like, a lot of people don't realize it, but there are so many different like tournaments, and even some like YouTubers and stuff could even do like community events where they just challenge each other to see like who can solve the puzzle fastest, who can solve the most puzzles in a short amount of time, who can create the best puzzle, stuff like that. So that's another great way to like keep a community involved when it comes to any game, is just trying to build that competitive community, because there are those that are casual, laid back, chill, just want to have fun, but then there's those that are like, I'm so good at this, I want to take this to the next level, and Sudoku lets any player do that. Sudoku, I believe, will never die out since the community surrounding it is so strong, and there are just so many pros to getting into Sudoku. Like I said, it's just a great mind game, a great way to relieve stress, a great way to escape, a great way to connect with others, a great way to kind of get into that competitive spirit, and it's also great for all ages, because I know there's Sudoku players that are young like me, and then there's also Sudoku players that could even be like in their 80s and still love the game, and who knows, maybe even those 80-year-olds know how to solve the puzzle way faster than I do. So alright everyone, well that is it for today's episode. Be sure to tune in Wednesday to hear me talk about what got me into Sudoku. If you enjoyed today's video, please leave a like, subscribe, and comment what you love about Sudoku. Let me know why you love this game so much. Let me know what brought you to this channel. Let me know if you even enjoyed today's topic, like if you enjoy the history of Sudoku, where it started, how it got to be so big. Also remember to follow on Instagram, Threads, Twitter, TikTok, and Blue Sky. With all that being said, I hope you all have a great day, and I will talk to you guys on Wednesday.